Glory men scrape a tough-earned point on the road. Can anyone stop the rampaging Auckland FC? And the Perth Glory women prepare for a massive Sunday homecoming. Welcome to the podcast with more hits than the wall of the player entrance after a Christian Caicedo second-half substitution. This is the Far Post Perth, presented by ID Athletic. Don't forget, now's the time to book your orders for 2025. Visit 84 House Street in Osborne Park, or visit idathletic.com. Another big week, plenty to chat about A-League, plenty of games to go across the weekend, Matilda's in action, and plenty to get through. With me on this episode, to my left, Mr. James Renton. Welcome back, mate.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us, yeah. And Jaxon Bassett's with us, mate. I'm not too sure about that kit you've got on this evening,
it's
mate.
Fantastic, don't bully it.
No, let's not.
We won 4-0, Blayne.
But let's put it in the good, bad and ugly, shall we? But Jaxon, welcome back, mate.
Always happy to be here.
No, very, very good. Plenty to get through, boys. In fact, let's start right there. Good, bad, ugly. Let's get it all off our chest. What was good across the weekend, James?
I really enjoyed the Macarthur-Brisbane game, which I said to you off air. I thought that in terms of an entertaining contest, it was definitely up there in terms of one of the games of the season for me. Just some of the chaos and some of the drama towards the end with the own goals. Really enjoyed it, and I think it sort of puts to bed the argument of the A-League doesn't have a lot of quality or entertainment. So a really good game, and I think an important point for Brisbane, especially given that they were under a lot of pressure heading into this game.
Jackson, you're up. What was good, mate?
I was going to say that volley from De Silva in that particular game was world class. Adam Taggart has to be, for me, the star of the round.
Give that man a knighthood.
At least from a Glory perspective. One of my slight concerns, and the Glory have many to deal with at the moment, but one of them regarding Taggart was, if you're a striker who's struggling to get a lot of chances, it can be easy to snatch at ones when they come, when they're few and far between. But the couple that he got on the weekend, the first one just tucked away beautifully on his opposite foot into the corner. And then the header is just world class to get the power on it and the direction downwards into the corner. I don't think there's any other player in the league who's got that quality and could do that. So it's great to see him in form and on the score sheet because the Glory really need it.
We'll talk about Adam Taggart a little bit later on when we get into the game, but I think there's some good points about where he's at the moment. Boys, good. I know we've harped on about this, but just Auckland and what they've brought the league this year, like they're doing so much heavy lifting over there, like in terms of good news stories, bringing crowds where more traditional and more established clubs aren't, and just a good vibe
Their
around
active
there.
supporters creating what feels like is a really fantastic expansion team when there's been a lot of criticism directed towards, obviously, Macarthur and West United in terms of the product that they're offering A-League fans and general sports fans. Auckland doing a fantastic job, and because of that, it's setting up a really fantastic Kiwi Classico, as the A-League social media team like to call it.
Let's not go there. James, carry on, mate. What was bad across the weekend?
Melbourne City's blunt attack from 19 shots and 5 big chances, they had an XG of 2.44 and missed 5 big chances and scored 0 goals. And I think it was always going to be interesting to see how they were going to respond from absolutely kicking Glory in the arse 5-0 away from home. And maybe people thought that their attack was a little bit better than what it was because they've still obviously got Mamedi, I'm pretty sure is his name, leading the line. And he's got a lot of potential, but he's still a young guy, and I think to expect consistent high-scoring performances from City, given the talent that they've lost, is probably not what's going to happen this season, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Jackson?
Well, my one can go two ways, and I'm interested to see your thoughts on this as well, with the Noah Botic goal and celebration, and then the A-League admin choosing to post the 4-second clip of him doing the dance and also the GIF of Donald Trump. Is this a little bit controversial for me to say that I think the reaction was maybe a little bit over the top, considering it was just a GIF? I do understand people's annoyance and why they're upset about it, considering
he was doing a dance. I mean, like, if there's a problem really with someone doing a dance, and especially the reaction from social media, I think it was a bit too far-fetched. I can understand why fans were disappointed with it.
I think it was more the fact that they posted the GIF of Trump. That was the layer on top.
A-League fans, boom, and then social media went off.
I'll caveat this and say I am in no way, shape or form a Donald Trump fan. But do we have to get outraged over everything?
Yes, because that's why we're the A-League. We like getting outrage over anything, to be honest, but it's not healthy for the competition.
If it had all right, let's flip this over. If it had been Anthony Albanese, Kamala Harris, Boris Johnson, do you know what I mean?
I get you, man.
Are we still having the same conversation? And what exactly do people have an issue? Is it the fact that they're just not Donald Trump fans and they're not a fan of his character? Is it political? Is it his character? What is it exactly that's rolling people up? And you can choose to keep scrolling through it. Once upon a time, I might have got a little bit caught up in this, but I think I'm just getting a bit older and just can't be bothered.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. But
each to their own.
I don't know. I just, as I said,
I'll say I see why it is a talking point though, in the sense of why fans are choosing to get, I can understand, like I said, the frustration, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's a GIF.
Yeah.
It's someone dancing. It's Trump dancing on Twitter. It's nothing major or anything like that.
I think there's other things going on in the world which you can get much more outraged about.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
An interesting one. My bad, and I kind of threw something out on Twitter this week, or X, or whatever you want to call it these days. I'm one of those that is kind of
boomer
transitioning onto a new platform. But the crowd at Amy Park, a Western United home game, I'll totally get that. And I put this tweet out in the week, but I'd absolutely kill for an accessible away fixture.
Yeah.
I'm sure all Perth fans would, all Adelaide fans would, all Brisbane fans would, all Auckland fans would, and it doesn't. I know that there's things that come up, and there's people going, but I had a family do, and we all get that, but there's no reason.
Was it 3,000?
It was really poor, whatever it was. I don't know. It wasn't a typical Amy Park crowd. And when I say that, I think, once again, crowds have been dwindling, even for the biggest club in the league in Melbourne Victory. But, I'd love to see just more away fans. Melbourne Victory should be taking thousands.
They should be.
To games in Victoria.
Yeah.
At minimum, should be 1,000 to 2,000. Sydney FC exactly the same. Wanderers, you could probably put in the same basket. Smaller clubs, maybe a couple of hundred, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be getting bigger away crowds at A-League fixtures. Is it a football thing? Is it an Australian thing? And I caveat that again by saying I don't think it's an Australian thing, because if you're an NRL fan in Sydney and you follow, let's say, Cronulla, you're getting around to all the rest of the grounds and
all the AFL
around. Waffle, people do that all the time. VFL, they do it all the time. SANFL, they do it all the time.
A-League as a product itself is not exactly one that a lot of people get around, which was seen in the sense of the crowd numbers that unite around for other games, and then away fixtures for all sorts of clubs, because we're not that big as a entertainment product, I would say. And that's been something that's been talked about for a long time. And yes, you can very easily say, well, Melbourne Victory fans, West Sydney fans, Sydney FC fans should be going in bigger numbers to their away games. But I don't think that we're necessarily big enough to get those numbers, let's say from a Perth Glory perspective. But I think at the same time, it's also very much results driven. Because that's it. You could very much say
Melbourne Victory's top of the pops, nearly. They're doing very, very well.
You could say that, but then wasn't the impression that this West United game was meant to be played at Tarneit only for the Cops to then say, out of security reasons, we're going to have to move it to Amy Park?
Well, that's what some people said, is that, if it had been at Tarneit, I would have gone. But because it was at Amy Park,
well, I don't buy that.
I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, the point is, other cities would absolutely kill for accessible away games.
I agree.
So if you're Sydney FC, or if you're anyone in Victoria or New South Wales, absolutely lap these up, because there's others that would absolutely kill for them.
Yeah, it's not a good look when there's only 3,000 and it's mostly empty seats.
And you got some guy in a megaphone.
Yeah.
All right. Turn it off.
It's the worst thing when there's only just that one guy and you can't hear anything else. I know. No, it's just not really working. No. What was ugly across the weekend, James?
The Matildas' performance against Brazil.
Weren't a fan?
No, because for me, it can be harsh in the sense, because especially the Sunday one in the Gold Coast where I think it wasn't Sunday, but it was the Gold Coast game. And look, I just felt that we didn't learn our lessons against Brazil, in the sense of Brazil wanted to take the sting out of the game, and we'll touch on this more, but they wanted to take the sting out of the game. They played a very, they delved into the dark arts, but we didn't find a way to cope with it, and we were unable to match Brazil's aggression and their sneakiness at times. It was just a really disappointing performance, and I felt that if we approached the game differently from a psychological perspective, then we might have actually taken it to Brazil and put them in that position that the Matildas players were for both games.
Yeah, so it's just those South American teams. They are so physical, as I said, dark arts and all that.
But they were ruthless when they were in front of goal as well, though. Bro.
That's true.
We couldn't create high value chances.
And they're a very, very inexperienced side, that Brazilian side at the moment.
Where are they in the FIFA ranking? Like 6 or something?
I couldn't tell you that, but
they're somewhere. They've got to be in the top 10, surely.
Yeah, I did hear that they're very, very experienced. They're going through a transition as well. So,
passionate coach.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We'll get more into the Matildas a little bit later on. Jackson, what was ugly across the weekend?
I struggle for this one, so I'll just settle on the Glory and VAR taking forever to rule out Adelaide's first goal. Should never take 5 minutes to rule out a goal like that, because we all saw it was handball, and then it took an extra 2 or 3 minutes to see if it was offside by the smallest of margins. Just took too long, and it just takes the sting out of the game, and just fans I can see why. Yes, I can see why everyone gets frustrated with it.
That the way that I saw both handballs in that fixture was they were very, very similar in the fact there was very, very close contact, and they had come from a similar kind of situation. Now, that was a handball, but I think it got ruled for offside first. Yeah. So I don't know. Did they not give that handball?
It was
because that changes
offside.
Whether they should have given the other one up the other end for me, because I thought when it hit O'Neill's hand,
it's a pen.
I thought it was a pen.
It's a pen, but that's what we would think. But because there's so much interpretation of the rule now, they've just screwed it up.
I don't know if anyone knows what the handball rule is.
Well, Bruce Jute said, "I don't know what the rule is, and we're not biased, but we don't know what it is."
So you're saying O'Neill's arm wasn't in a natural position, you don't think?
Well, I think you don't defend with your arms out like you're doing a ballerina dance. So you can argue the case of...
Which ballerinas are you been watching with their arms out?
doing those twirls and stuff.
Yoga stretch.
Or the tea tree dance or something. But I don't know why you would defend with your hands out like that in that moment. And you can argue, well, he didn't have a lot of time to react. But even still, why are your arms away from your body?
Because, and this is I don't understand this unnatural position, because who walks around with their arms flat by their side all day long? You don't. You hold your arms, and they hold a little bit of, when you take off, you use your arms because it gives you that little bit of propeller.
But if you've made yourself unnaturally larger, though, which is what there's the argument of what O'Neill might have done in that handball situation. But because there's so much debate around it.
And this is why I think we've just got to go back to simple basics. If it touches your hand, it's a handball no matter where it is on the field.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Because it'd be the same in play as well.
Because that makes it black and white.
Yeah.
Not get rid of the grey. If you want to have it, get rid of the grey. It's either, we do that in offside or onside, don't we? You're either on or off.
Yeah, blanket rule. That's what it should be.
The ball's either in or it's out. I think once you start to get into those areas, you
lose fans.
Well, you muddy the waters. Yeah. Becomes harder to make these decisions. Ugly, and I know you want to touch on this, James, but I'm going to start with this. The Christian Caicedo substitution. I've got to admit, I felt for him. Coming on, you've got a guy who's trying to make his way in a new country, in a new team, probably hasn't been given the chances that he wants, came in late, which is probably no fault of his own. And then I thought he got into some good areas and was playing all right. I think he virtually set up that second goal for Taggart.
Yep.
Might have been a hint of offside in that, I thought initially.
No, I think it was a perfectly timed run. I'll give him credit for that.
I can, as much as we might have saw a bit of a spat by him, I can understand his frustration, and I don't think it's. I feel it comes down to the player and man management of the Perth Glory coaching staff there, because there was other players which you could have brought on. Was it a fact that, hold on, we're too front heavy now, we need to take someone off? If you've got to that point, then you probably need to assess your subs and your tactics to begin with.
David, I felt, explained it fairly well post-game where he said, obviously tactical as a reason is more of a cop-out excuse, but he wasn't exactly wrong in the sense that Caicedo is really good going forward, but on the transition back, his efforts are perhaps not the same as someone like Jared Coluccio, who would work like a dog up and down the line and would be a critical player in that moment. And in the perspective of trying to waste time and dent Adelaide's momentum, because if the crowd got more involved, there's no doubt that we would have conceded. So we needed to try and find a way to stunt their momentum, and bringing Doggy on, I think, was the right move. But for me, I was disappointed with Caicedo's reaction because there's been a little bit of discourse from fans over body language. I mean, a lot of people have criticised Taggart for his body language, for being a senior player. And I can understand Caicedo, who's not really used to playing in Australia and playing in an English-speaking country. But for me, it would have been better, whether he agreed with the decision or not, to have gone off, accepted the decision, and then had a talk with David and Andres post-game, or Lewis Kanga, one of the senior Latin boys, and talk about it. And as he was coming off, he could have gone to Coluccio and tried to rev the boys up and change the mood around the camp. But if you're one of those players and you're in a difficult moment and you walk down and you see Caicedo basically volleying the toys out the pram, walking down the tunnel, in terms of the group morale, I'm sure it would have dented it a little bit. Whereas if he went off and was trying to motivate the boys, then it might have even spurred us on to do a little bit better in that game, to possibly even have gone on to win it. Now, that's all hypothetical, but I just think there's the argument for Caicedo rightfully being frustrated to being taken off, but is there a time and place to show that frustration?
It was a little bit petulant, but I'd much rather him be animated and angry about it than just walk off like nothing happened.
That's fair.
So I think that's my takeaway from it. I can understand his frustration, and I think, as you said, like as a tactical substitution, it makes sense. You wanted someone more defensive like Coluccio on to help out in the final moments of the game. But yeah, I like him showing that hunger and desire. He wants
he cares.
He wants to be out there, and that's what I think some of the imports in the past haven't had, that sort of passion. So I'm glad we're seeing it from him.
Yeah, good stuff, boys. Well, that just about wraps up the good, bad, and ugly. We might take a bit of a break, and we'll come back and delve a little bit deeper into the Perth Glory men's result on the weekend and all the rest of the A-League results. We'll be back for more here on the Far Post Perth Podcast.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Part 2 of the Far Post Perth podcast. Big thank you to ID Athletic. Boys, we touched on, certain aspects of the result. It was Adelaide United 2, Perth Glory 2. Adam Taggart double, some missed chances. I've got some other notes here. Better performance. There's probably real anomalies in the possession stats across that, and I'm sure James will come up with those in a quick second. But just sum up how you guys saw the game first, James.
Well, I was on Sport FM last night, and I said it was better, but I think it was a game where we weren't terrible enough to lose, but we weren't good enough to win. And I think in the sense of that, we had a much better attacking performance this season than we have done throughout all the games. Like as an example, ever since the MacArthur game and then before this game, I think we've basically averaged like 1 or 2 shots on target per game. Meanwhile, in this one, we got 6 from our 14. So we were far more effective when we got into our box than Adelaide. I still would have liked us to have dominated the ball a bit more, because 72 to 28% possession is just borderline uncompetitive. And I can understand the want to try and absorb pressure and then transition quickly. But even still, when we had the ball, we're unable to keep it under pressure, and we're unable to really consistently lock teams in our attacking third and then keep the pressure on, and then with our rest defence back there, we're unable to win those loose balls and keep putting teams under pressure. So I think it would have been a very interesting game for David and his coaches to analyse. But on a positive point, though, it was good to see the players respond positively to coughing up a lead, and instead of going into their shell, they said, no, we're going to do something different. And they did very well to get a good result away from home at a very tough place.
I was a little bit worried after the first 10 minutes that it might blow out a little bit because Dylan Perez had quite a bit of luck on the right side getting some crosses in. And even Falami managed to get one on with Kangaroo a couple of times. But as to your point, after that, we tightened up defensively. And I mean, I think the good thing about this performance was only 4 shots Adelaide had on target out of their 26 in total. So kept it quite tight at the back. The possession, yes, it is a little bit alarming, but I've never been the biggest fan of tiki-taka football and just keeping the ball and holding it for pass and just passing for passing's sake. But yeah, we should have more possession. But also, when I saw this stat on FootMob that we had 160 accurate passes for the game at 63% accurate, that is dreadful. And when you compare that to Adelaide, they had 580 at 90%. So there's a reason why we can't keep the ball. And when you're passing at 60% accuracy, then that's just dreadful, and that really needs to be out. But we managed to get a draw from the game. Taggart got his couple of goals, so it wasn't all bad.
Do you have the stat for passes and how many passes we had in Adelaide's half?
No, but I'm imagining it to be like 30,
so
20.
Adelaide had 371 passes in our half. We only had 92 in their half. So it's like, I want to be positive in the sense of we scored 2 goals. That's good progress, but at the same time, it's like, okay, in future games, when you're relying on that small of a sample in terms of passes, it just shows that we were very lucky to transition the ball as quickly as we can. And I have no problem with how we transition. But it's like, you've got to, as much as there's the counter to, okay, keeping the ball for the sake of it is boring and tiki-taka isn't exactly pleasing to the eye, but it's like, well, we need to find ways to control games better so that we don't have a team like Adelaide having 26 shots. Because imagine if we gave Victory the same level of chances, it wouldn't be 2-2, it'd be like 6 or 7-2.
There was a really interesting question put to David Zrilic at the press conference. Might have been Lucas Ronaldo or someone like that over in Adelaide. And it alluded to the fact that it felt like there was at times with Perth a shot clock like basketball. I don't know if you guys picked up on this question.
Yeah.
But they were almost rushing to try and have their shots.
Yeah.
And then they coughed it up and it came straight back out, and immediately they were back under the cosh.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is where I feel that we need to get more out of, well, number 6s, particularly someone like a Brandon O'Neill, just to get their foot on the ball, keep possession, let everyone have a nice breather for a bit, rather than be under the cosh defensively and running up and down like a blue-ass fly.
Well, we don't play with composure. That's really the bigger point.
And just get your foot on the ball and, have a bit of patience and a little bit of, a confidence in the process, even more so, rather than just, hey, let's...
Yeah. But how mentally challenging... Well, David sort of did speak about it in the sense of the mental state of the players, where confidence is probably going to be a hard thing for them to really build in spades after the MacArthur 5-0 they were down at halftime, and then Melbourne City where we got smashed. And that no doubt would have put in a big dent in the players' overall morale, considering what was a really positive pre-season. But to your point about having there's effective possession, but then there's also, like I said before, you need to be able to keep the ball in critical moments. And every time you do get the ball, it's not let's sprint at 90 miles an hour to the opposition box. It's like, well, picking our moments a little bit better, trying to bait Adelaide a little bit more, where let's say we wanted to encourage Adelaide to press and then look to go over, try and find different ways to attack rather than just going, okay, Adelaide are vulnerable and exposed, let's go. But then not everyone is on the same page. I think that's been a problem a lot of times. We've got the ball, and there's been times where not everyone's on the same page, or guys are literally standing within, holding hands of each other and going, all right, what do we do from here?
It's also interesting too, and I wanted to bring up this point as we spoke about Adam Taggart as well being in good nick. It's amazing that both of his goals so far in that game and this season came from initial balls in wide areas.
You mentioned it.
95% of his goals that he scored last year were quick balls out wide, came in, and Adam Taggart ended up with the golden boot. So I think that's something they need to click on to, that this narrow formation, it just doesn't suit Adam Taggart.
Well,
What it means is he has to come out from goal-scoring areas and pick up the ball and then hope he's got that support.
Well, we just need to be more connected.
Yeah.
Like as in like if you want to play with, let's say, wingers that come inside and then you got the 10 and then you got Taggart. Taggart should be a lot higher up, but there should be a greater synergy between the 3 attacking midfielders, the 2 defensive midfielders, and then the fullbacks getting forward. Because what we saw when Hamzaoui did get forward for the first goal was a really fantastic run, and I don't think we've really had many forward runs like that all season. And then a little bit of chaos in the box, stupid defending from Falami, and then Taggart, Johnny on the spot, smashed it in with his left foot.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Jackson, there was a little bit of a change in personnel on the weekend. We're still unsure what the best 11 is. I think David Zrilic is still unsure what the best 11 in. Abdul Faisal went out. Cam Cooks replaced Sale over the last couple of weeks. Ayama is out of favour again, seemingly. I'm trying to work out how everyone fits in at the moment. Any ideas?
Well, I think Pennington and Taggart are definitely the two.
Yep.
You're going to pick 2 players who have to be in the team week in, week out. They're the 2 standouts. Weirdly, I think the defence is mostly all right. I think Hamzaoui and Risdon are probably the 2 fullbacks that you can rely on the most and go forward with. And then the centre-back pairing, I mean, I feel like Kanga kind of has to play, and I don't think he's been too bad this season. I mean, that might be a bit, you might disagree with me on that, but I think he's been all right.
He's been fine.
And then, I don't know, maybe with Lockie Barr, he's been all right, but I'd like to see maybe one of the younger guys get a spot there.
Well,
like,
where's Majeka Dunmi? I mean, he was one of the standout youngsters there. Is he on his way? Yeah.
Well, he's not injured because he was playing for the under-23s when they had their training camp over in Sydney against the Western Sydney Wanderers during the international break.
Well, yeah.
So where is he? But if we're not going to go with Majex, Stan Lazaridis, Ross Pelligra, get on the phone to Tianjin and convince Alex Grant to come home. Go and bring back a top quality centre back who is a Perth boy and would be a really good mentor for the young centre backs that we've got coming through. I'd much rather Zach Lizalewski learning under Alex Grant and him showing him the ropes and how to do things. And if Zach could have a similar career, that's just one example, have the career that Alex has had of going into Asia, then I'd much rather have someone like Alex come back and teach the young boys.
Well, I don't get how Majeka Dunmi just goes so quickly out of favour. I don't understand that.
It doesn't make sense.
When he was one of the standouts and our best performers last year, in my opinion, at least, Jackson.
Yeah, a bit strange. The attack is another weird one because I feel like we've had Ngo come in, and I think he's really impressed me. I think he's been really good.
I said in the week that he should be given a 3-year contract. I think if there's a youngster that's coming through at the moment that's going to command some kind of fee, because we know that he's probably too good for the A-League, and he's gone on to bigger, brighter things. I don't think that he's a player that we can afford to let go on a mutual termination, or the fact that we want to wish him all the best and go off and enjoy his career. Already had trials at Celtic and impressed as a 16, 17-year-old.
He's clearly got potential.
He'll be on the radar somewhat of a few scouts, you'd imagine.
He nearly produced that amazing assist for Taggart. I don't know if it wasn't in the highlights.
Trivella.
Not the Trivella. And this is another one which is like a cross came in over the top, and I think it was Kikianis who just got a foot in at the last minute. It was nearly perfect.
Yeah.
He works well in tight spaces. Just the end product is what we're yet to see, but it's hard for him when he's getting a lot of support.
What is he? Is he 18 yet? Yeah. So, I mean, huge career ahead of him. And, I mean, if you're working alongside someone like... And this is where David Williams is such an asset to the club. With
he's super with his experience and his personality. He's a top guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely agree. Boys, any final thoughts on the Glory for Adelaide?
We need another defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who does a lot of analyst work on the A-League and a bit of scouting and recruitment, all that sort of thing. And I asked him if there's a position like your Stan Lazaridis, who should we be looking to go for? And he said a number 6 that can defend those large spaces and help regain possession, because I don't really think we have a pure number 6 that can do that role. I mean, O'Neill has his qualities, Gamulka has his qualities, but none of them are really those pure defensive kind of grunt players in a sense. Like Ross and Griffiths, for example, or Jacob Burns, or Killer back in the day, or Hyundai.
Yeah.
We need one of those players, and if we do,
bit of an enforcer.
Well, if we get someone like that in January, then I think that could do a lot of favours for us moving forward.
Yep. Final thoughts, Jackson, on the Glory against Adelaide?
Yeah, I wrote about this in my preview on Friday about how the Glory need to stop conceding quick goals or goals in quick succession. I've got a list here. This is just since April. So 3 goals conceded in 22 minutes against Adelaide, which is at home towards the end of last season. 5 in 29 minutes against Melbourne City in the 8-0. 4 in 24 against Sydney in the 7-1. 3 in 18 minutes against Melbourne City in the Australian Cup. And this season we've seen 4 in half an hour against Macarthur. 3 in 11 minutes either side of half-time against Melbourne City in the 5-0. 3 in 17 against Western United. And then 2 in 2 against Adelaide. So that's 27 goals conceded in 153 minutes combined.
Didn't we concede something like, I heard a stat, was it like 49 or something goals conceded in the last 12 games for Glory?
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. No, it's mental. It's mental.
Yeah.
It also points to, this isn't just like a 1 or 2 game span. This is, in 8 months, this has happened nearly 8-9 times. Who is leading the defense and marshalling the troops when we concede a goal? And just to say, let's just calm down, let's be solid, rather than letting it blow out. Because it's all well and good playing 80 to 85 minutes of good football. But when you concede 5 goals, when you concede 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the second half, your lead goes, and then you're chasing the game now rather than, trying to hold on to a lead.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Boys, let's have a look at some of the other results. Auckland 2, Newcastle 0. This was an interesting fixture, and I think Neil Sherwin said last week that he thought that Newcastle might get something out of this. They held on for a long time. Yeah. And then the floodgates opened.
Yeah, Nader Moreno would have been a good Colombian whale signing. Just saying.
Great volley.
The volley was fantastic. And Auckland, they don't play sexy football, but they play a brand of football that can get them wins. And, they don't have to get the game done early. They've shown in this game in particular that, they can, for as much as a team like Newcastle defended well, they were able to find a way to win. And that's going to go a long way for them this season, I believe.
Would you see the weather? No way anyone's playing sexy football in that weather.
No. But even still, over the course of the whole season, it's not like they're setting the league alight with a trendy brand of football. It's like, well, we're going to win our way, and if it's grimy and gritty, well, so what? We've not conceded a goal yet. So, fair play to them.
Sets up a beautiful home derby.
Kiwi Classico.
Well, they're going to open up the other grass bank this week as well, so they've got extra.
Jeez. Blockbuster.
Yeah. I'm just wondering where they fit the away fans at Mount Smart Stadium, because it's,
I'm sure they'll find it on the slide probably.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be interesting. Melbourne City 0, Wanderers 2. I'm not convinced by Melbourne City yet. They're not in a bad position, but I just
the 5-0 against us was an anomaly. I'm not a fan of Vidmar. I think I've said that before in a previous podcast. Just the style of football and the way they play is just they're not at the level that Melbourne City should be at. And Wanderers haven't been amazing this season, and they got the job done pretty comfortably in the end. I think Malamic is now leading the Golden Boot, and he's been a revelation.
Is he a shout for the Socceroos? Because I feel that he's probably the next cab off the rank.
Should have been. It should have been him that was involved in the last set of games against Japan, South
least,
Korea.
I'm not saying he's going to get first-time minutes
Bahrain.
or even come off the bench, but I think he's probably that next one to get involved.
He's someone that can make things happen. That's the thing. Yeah. He's just someone that has been consistently for the last 12 months or so, been a really consistent performer for the Western Sydney Wanderers, and has always been someone that's got a lot of potential. I think he was close to a move to Croatia at the back end of last season, but the deal fell through. But he's clearly a very talented player, and he should be. He and Waddingham have put the best case so far in terms of young players in the A-League that should be considered for the next Socceroos squad.
It's a big risk, though, because we've seen there's been a lot of strikers who've played well in the A-League and have not been able to translate that into Socceroos form. McLaren, Taggart's probably been culpable of that as well.
But why not give it a go with Waddingham?
I mean, it's worth a shout, but maybe not in a very important World Cup qualifier against some high-quality opposition in Japan and Saudi Arabia.
True.
Yeah, I think that the stakes are a bit high for someone like that at the moment.
But for the future, though, in the sense of staking a claim.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you're going to bring in. I think these games, especially against Saudi,
you do need your
Japan,
winners and your best players. Yeah, I agree.
You just want guys that have experienced, your Dukes and that.
Popper would
As
love
much as
that.
Duke's probably starting to come
Decline.
over the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
Even Cassini Yangi's in just got more high pressure experience, I feel.
Yeah, it should be Yangi who's leading the team moving forward.
MacArthur 4, Brisbane 4, talking about Thomas Waddingham. He had a pretty good one as well.
He did. I think Zatkovic is developing a bit of a theme now for 4-4 draws, given, what was it, a couple of seasons ago when he was Glory manager, we had a 4-4 draw against Adelaide. I think that was the last 4-4 draw. But no, just a really exciting game. Like I said before, really enjoyable. And I thought Waddingham in particular, some of the goals that he scored, it's like, get this guy in contention or in the conversation at least for being in the next Socceroo squad.
It was two very separate finishes. The first one, he just gets on the loose ball in the box and taps it home, and then the second one times his run, and then it was a great curled finish past Caicedo, who's still one of the best keepers in the league.
His future is away in Europe for me. He's
Waddingham.
Waddingham. We've when was the last time Australia has produced a good young striker like Waddingham or has the potential like Waddingham, because his goal record already is looking pretty good for his age. And I think
there's a bit of Mark Viduka about him.
Someone made that comparison, didn't they?
There's a bit of Mark Viduka about him.
Yeah, so I think very easily he could do well in a team in England or somewhere in Europe. He's got the qualities.
Yeah, no, good stuff. And for all our pissing and moaning, there's some really bright talent that's actually started to leave our shores, and they will continue to leave our shores over the next little period. So it's something that we can be proud of on that part. Western United 0, a Melbourne victory. Was it 3? I've written 2 here, but it was 3, wasn't it? Interesting. Bruno. Well, you said that he was going to score. You said it was going to be a winner, though, so I don't know if we're going to give you that.
I'm sort of copying Bruno's celebration, but, maybe PK should be playing him a bit more.
What's the story there? I mean...
It's baffling because Virgos is a good striker, but I think why are you bringing on Ging Reese, who's got potential, but Bruno Fornaroli, that guy guarantees you almost a goal. So he showed it once he came on, and that's why he pretty much gestured to PK going, bro, you should chuck me on a bit more.
Interesting.
The good thing that they're on a bit of a hot streak and they're winning, because it's
not for us.
Well, it can be. Fornaroli being on the bench can be forgiven if they're getting results, which they have been. But if the tide turns and they start dropping points and losing, and he's not even being selected or not coming off the bench, then that's when the real question marks will.
Of course,
that's when they'll really crop up.
Does he hang in January? Or does he go?
I think he goes.
Think he goes? You're waving him goodbye, James?
Get a front two with Taggart and Bruno. Why not? Stuff it.
Well,
get the nostalgia going. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's, if he was available. Huge connections to Perth. Still got a house here, as far as I'm aware.
I'd consider taking him back if he was available.
There you go.
I don't know. I think there's more pressing issues than that. I think we need to invest in different areas of the squad. Getting another striker who's.
But I wouldn't mind seeing that celebration in front of the shed again, though.
Yeah, it'd be nice. But what is he now? 37, 38?
It's getting there. Yeah.
I think got to be smart about where we're putting our money.
Of course.
Interesting. Boys, it was a interesting round for the A-League women because there was kind of 2 games last week, and then it was a bit of a splitness 4 this week, and we know the Matildas are on, but it threw me out massively. But a couple of results. Melbourne City 2 over Western Sydney. Central Coast 2-1 over Canberra United. One of the best, we've talked about this off air, but one of the best 1-2s I've ever seen. It was like proper sideline to sideline back into the middle and set up for Shadeen Evans, who scored an absolute belter as well. So
I was saying she'd be a great WOW signing.
Oh, there you go.
Stan Lazaridis, hope you're listening.
Bring her across. And of course, we'll look ahead to this weekend. Glory Girls back in action, a bit of a homecoming at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. In fact, what we might do is we might take a little bit of a break, and we'll talk about that right after this.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Final part of the Far Post Perth podcast. Let's look ahead to the weekend, gentlemen. In fact, before we do that, let's have a bit of a chat about the Tillies. 2 games played, 2 losses against Brazil. Just not quite at the races. James, you had a bit of input that you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah, it's just a frustrating performance in the sense that, you know, obviously when you're playing against an experienced side like Brazil and you don't necessarily have all of your best players available for whatever reason, it's always going to be a very tough challenge. But I would have liked to have seen us approach, especially the second game, in a different light, because I think the first game was a bit of a shock to us in the sense of what Brazil were willing to do in the sense of the dark arts to get a result. And full credit to them, they got the job done. But I think there was a stat that was done in the sense of shots that we had against that Brazil had in the first half in the game on the Gold Coast, where it was something like 16 or 17 shots that Brazil had in the first half against us in the Gold Coast. And it's like, I think Brazil managed to find that mental edge over the Matildas players, and I was disappointed that we weren't able to wrestle it back. I was disappointed that we weren't able to be more effective in wide positions, because I think the likes of Hayley Razzo got into some really good areas, like Caitlin Ford also, but I just think we lacked that. I think we took too many touches at times, and I think we just lacked that killing edge that was particularly present at Suncorp Stadium, but definitely so in the game on the Gold Coast. But definitely a learning experience, and I hope that the Tillies learned some valuable lessons in the sense of, do we need to play more of the dark arts? Because, you know, for as good as the World Cup was last year, we've not won a major piece of silverware for some time, and do we need to implement something that Brazil is doing to win those trophies in the future? Or do we need to improve the way in which we play? Like the way in which Brazil play, highly technical, the way in which they kept the ball was ridiculous, and they're a template for the Matildas to consider for whoever their new coach will be, in the sense of how we should approach games moving forward.
It's an interesting one, and I mean, some players just, it isn't in them to go and play that physical rough and tumble kind of game, or get, you know, play that style. And I think you might have Sam Kerr that's obviously got a fair bit of grit to her, and you've got Caitlin Ford maybe with a bit of grit to her, maybe Alana Kennedy, and then the rest just don't really have it. They just concentrate on their football, and that's just the way that they play. And I think when that style doesn't suit you and you try and go down that road, you generally come off second best.
That's true. That's true, but it's like we need to find ways to become the best, because we definitely have the potential to be the best. My
concern at the moment is, Polkinghorne gone.
Yep.
Alana Kennedy won't be too far away. Michelle Heyman won't be too far away.
Yep.
Emily Van Egmond won't be too far away. Then you start to get towards your Sam Kerrs, a little bit further away, then you'll start to get towards your Ellie Carpenters in age and everything else like that, Hayley Rassos and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if we're seeing that next gen close enough to picking up where this gen left off.
I agree. I
think there's a real experience and talent gap.
Yeah, because aside from, let's say, Fowler and Carpenter, who I think you can build a team around moving forward, the question then is, okay, who else?
Yeah,
because there's the whole trope of, give the ball to Sam Kerr, she'll do something spectacular, which she normally does. But then it's like, okay, when Sam's out the team, for me at least, there's a significant drop in our output in so many areas. So for me, I just think in the sense of our attack, there's a whole different dynamic when we move forward when Sam's playing versus when she's not playing. There's a clear focal point and there's a clear synergy in the way in which we play. I think
there's too much of a focal point, to the point that I've quoted it as Sam Kerr or bust. That's they start to get into that kind of area rather than play football, send it wide to Rasso and Carpenter. It's that quick ball, bomb it long to Sam.
It's a good challenge for the new coach.
Well, absolutely. How do they fit everything in?
Probably get someone from the A-League W to be the next coach.
I think it works, but I don't think it works against those top
of course,
teams. Your Germanys, your Brazils, your Englands, your Spains.
Brazil were just very straight smart.
Yeah, I thought they just played a really good game, Jackson.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. Not much to say apart from that. I mean, they played quite well. I disagreed to a point regarding some of the young players because I think we saw in this window the likes of Winona Heatley and Daniela Galich getting some more minutes, and you've got thinking of who's in the starting team, you've got Carpenter who's like 23, you've got Fowler in there, you've got Cooney Cross who I think is going to be a mainstay in the midfield. Claire Wheeler, I think she's maybe like 98 or 99, so she's mid 20s. I think she slots in for
Claire Hunt is another one.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Claire Hunt. Yeah. You got I think Nevin and Charlotte Grant are also quite young. We saw Micah in goals for the second game. I thought she was quite good. So I think there is enough there at the moment. I mean, I think you need more experience.
It remains to be seen how they go in the future.
Yeah,
but they could do exceptionally well. But it'll be interesting to see how they transition given the presence that some of those more experienced players have had.
If I think we need to get to a point, and I think we've seen it under Gustafsson, that if you want to have a Matildas team that is going to take it up to the best, they can't be playing in Australia and they probably can't be playing in America. They need to be playing top flight football over in Europe.
Yep.
Like those big.
Well, Razzo was playing for Real Madrid not that long ago.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, beautiful. Let's have a bit of a look ahead to the weekend. A-League men's fixtures. We got a Brisbane against Melbourne City. Boys, thoughts and tips?
City to win just. I think they bounced back. I think, like I mentioned before, they did create chances, but they just didn't put them away, and I'm sure they would have been bitterly disappointed to have lost the way in which they did against Western Sydney Wanderers.
I've got Brisbane winning at home.
Brisbane?
Yeah. Probably not good news for the Glory fans because that means we'll drop down to the bottom, but yeah, I think they'll do enough. I'm not really impressed with City. I think they've...
Well, I haven't been impressed with either of them. I think Neil hit the nail on the head last week. They're shit. They're just not as shit as Glory.
I think City will be shitter this week than Brisbane.
Yeah. We'll see how it all goes. I'm going to go for Melbourne City. I think Melbourne City's going to do that. I just don't think Brisbane's got it in them at the moment. Auckland v Wellington. This is going to be a belter. I'm really looking forward to this one. This is the first game on Saturday.
Wellington to get their revenge and get a 90th minute winner. That's going to be my bold prediction as well. Because I'm sure because Brimmer, I'm pretty sure, got a goal in the 90th something minute off of a goalkeeper mistake when they first played at Wellington's home ground. And I think Wellington will win this game in a very similar fashion and give it to the Auckland fans in front of the Port.
I think this is going to be brilliant.
Blockbuster.
I just think that, and it comes back to setting the scene of a nice, suitable sized stadium as well. I think, you can't go... You can bang on about 50, 60, 70,000 crowds, but you don't even need to. No. You can have the time of your life with 10,000 people.
Of course. And it just works for Auckland. It's just such a good environment.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm going to go a bit boring. I'm going to pick a draw. Jackson?
I've got Wellington. I would love this to be a game with a few more goals in it, but I don't see it being that way. I think both teams are very nailed on and very strong defensively, so I think there's only going to be like 1 or 2 in it.
Newcastle v Adelaide, boys.
Draw. 1-1.
I've got Adelaide winning. I just feel sorry for Newcastle in the sense of, imagine being a Newcastle fan and you want to see more from your team. They've been having some very tough years and you'd be wanting to see a side that you can really get behind. Haven't made the finals since the 17-18 season, Blayne, when they finished second.
You're telling the story, mate.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's the last time they made the finals. Yeah. So, they're a team that need investment with their new owners, and until they get that investment, I think it's going to be some tough times ahead for the Jets fans, unfortunately.
Western United against MacArthur.
Draw.
I've
got MacArthur. Normally their games are quite high scoring, so I think 3-2.
Is that one out at... That one must be out at
it should be.
Surely.
Has to be.
They're not going to have that at Amy Park.
Unless I want to repeat.
With 3 men and a dog.
Get the guy on the megaphone.
No, not going to happen. I'm going to pick MacArthur. I think they're going to be far too strong. I think they're going to start to make a bit of a forge back after couple of different results. Melbourne victory, Perth Glory. Boys, how do we see this one? It is time, and by law of averages, I'm not going to say that Perth will win this, but it is time that we string together two credible performances at least.
Yeah, I think there is the potential for us to get something from this game, which might seem, you're delusional. You just drew with Adelaide 2-2, so now you're going to go to victory and get a result.
The likelihood is that we'll get thumped 6-1.
The likelihood, there's a stronger likelihood that we'll get absolutely towed up, but then there's also the possibility that because we're slowly building, that maybe it would be typical Glory to somehow nab a win. I don't think we will, but I think we will get a draw.
Jackson?
I think it's a question of how much
How
we
many?
lose by. Yeah, I've gone 3. If they can keep it to 2-1, then that would be ideal. But I think with
Play like Brazil.
yeah, could do. I think with the victory attack, I think we're going to have a really rough time.
Hopefully not.
I feel that Melbourne victory is just going to be too much to. I think they've just got too much. I mean, how do we look at guys like Virgos, Azani,
Chach, he's been incredible. Like his first goal.
Lupale,
That's what I'm saying.
Shash.
But adopt that Brazil mentality, though, because everyone is going to think we're going to rock up and we're going to get absolutely spanked. And if we can find a way to frustrate Melbourne victory and emulate a similar to performance to what Wellington had in the Unite round, victory will get frustrated. They'll leave gaps open in transition, and it's there for us to get something.
I'd like to see Kanga just fully go into Hulk mode.
Take out Arzani.
Just 2-foot someone.
No, I'm not even in that. But I mean, when he gets when he's defending and when he's up the top,
Do you want to see more proactive, aggressive defending?
I'd love to see him just roll through someone for a big header and get his head on one.
Yeah, but that's the thing. In Melbourne City, he bumped someone off and the crowd loved it. Early in the first half.
Yeah, but I'd like to just see him get a bit more.
Argy-bargy.
Yeah, absolutely. Throw a bit of weight around.
I agree.
Make those around you think twice about what they're
He
going to do.
did that when he was playing for Orcus in Ecuador.
Yeah.
So he can very easily do it.
When you're that tall and you're that big, surely you've got to
And
use
scary
it.
looking.
You've got to use that frame, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to be lucky if we can get a draw out of this one.
Maybe I'm optimistic.
Central Coast v Sydney, last game of the round.
Easy win for Sydney. Mariners, I caught a little bit of their game against Yokohama, but they're not doing many favours for us getting another coefficient to play in the Champions League again. So, tough times for the Mariners.
Yeah, they can't score. They've really had troubles in front of the net. Sydney, on the other hand, have been pretty good in front of goal. So I've got them penciled in for a 2-0 win, probably similar to the way the City Wanderers game panned out.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. I think Sydney's going to get the result there. A-League W across the weekend. Wellington v Brisbane, Western United against Sydney, Adelaide v Newcastle, and we return home for the Glory Girls. Perth v Melbourne victory at the Sam Kerr Football Centre, 5 p.m. kickoff. No trains, boys, but there is shuttle buses from Cannington Station.
They're
and
free,
there is
right?
also shuttle buses with a match ticket from the City Busport. But if you're listening, make sure you check out the Perth Glory website and Transperth details for when those are running and everything else. But I think it should be pretty good. There's no men's fixtures, 5 o'clock on a Sunday. It's not too far from me, so I might get down there.
Yeah, I think this will be a game where I'd like to see us just go at victory. Go at them, press, play a positive brand of football, get the crowd involved, and see if we can get a few goals in around about the first 10 minutes or so. And if we can do that, see if we can try and control the game from there. I think it will be a tough challenge, there's no doubt about that. We should have beat Canberra when we played them in Unite round.
Yeah.
So hopefully the players would have learnt a few lessons from that, and maybe we can pull off a good result at home.
Yeah, I think it might be I've got a good feeling about this, and hopefully it's a good crowd down there. And if you're going to head down, enjoy yourself and enjoy your $14 beers at the Sam Football Centre. Boys, final thoughts as we get set to wrap things up. Maybe some bold predictions.
Yeah, I sort of alluded to it before, but Wellington to win in the 90th minute against Auckland, and their fans to go absolutely berserk, and Alex Rufer to be shushing them in front of the port.
Whoa.
Would love to see that.
Jackson.
Oh, could you imagine that? I've got not a bold prediction for the Glory Women. I've got them drawing with victory, just going back to that.
Yep.
As for bold predictions, Paulson to drop an absolute stinker and cost Auckland their clean sheet record and hand Wellington the victory.
I would
Or
love
the
it.
Kiwi
And
country.
I think I deserve it.
Bold prediction of the week, boys. Jurgen Klopp is in Australia. And he gets photoed with a Sharon. It's going to be my bold prediction for the week. Don't forget to tell your friends all about the Far Post Perth podcast. Big thank you to ID Athletic for their ongoing support. And of course, the podcast is now available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube Music. Until next time, enjoy your football.